Hi guys, and welcome back to the VERKERK Volvo again, part 13, I believe. Anyway, so moving on from the last one where I did some more of the chassis. This again is a little bit more chassis, as I showed in the last one. It's like a glued together tank, and then it's like another tank bracket of some sort to go onto the chassis again. So we're going to complete that, parts 21, 22 from the manual in this one, and then moving on to the Servonaut motor itself, and then starting to house that. We've got all these parts ready that's needed for this part, all filed down and everything else. So let's make a start. So if you take a look here, this is how we're going to be constructing it, and the blue areas which highlight where the glue is going to be going. So that's going to then be bolted here, which is going to also brace one half of the chassis to the other part of the chassis. But before we can do that, we have to construct this. So my kettle's boiling, ready to have my coffee in a moment. So first things first, these, you can see the grooves already out, so they'll be the insides per the manual, and it's literally just a little bit of gluing and sticking. So now this one has the little pips, so it's showing they're going to go into those holes there. So again, little blobs of glue on there. Now it doesn't really show in the manual which way, but you can kind of work it out. They're stamped with the code of which they are in the manual, whether it's B3, B2, etc. So they do go to the inside. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, just another line of glue. Now just to seat this in the grooves and stuff on the other side. Now patience is required. Luckily I have quite a lot of that. So I'll just pop some weight on that now to dry. I'm going to go make my coffee, have a coffee, and then I can come back and proceed to bolt that together. So I'm just going to proceed now. I don't know if you can see the 3 holes there to the 3 holes there. So we're just going to get those to align. And then this tank is going to have the holes there on one side and the other, using those two holes, the nuts and bolts. That's just going to fasten all that together and in place there. So I'm going to screw that up, and I'll give you a little look at that bit when it's complete, and then I can turn the page and do step 22. So this now is turning out pretty much near impossible to get these to screw up to this chassis. If you seat that onto there, your nuts will sit in them little slots inside, but then from the back your socket will only screw so far around because it's hitting the inside of this chassis rail. Now I'm just going to take 5 out before I end up smashing it. Got one in, so there it is, step 21. It went together once I figured out and got that first screw in there. The rest of it just seemed together pretty easy once I've got the right tools on the job. It really is fiddly, the tiny screws, and to try and like get your fingers down there or through there to get the nuts in, or if you use like a magnetic tool, it just comes back up with a tool. So I just took a bit of time out just to refresh myself before I literally ended up throwing it out the window. It really is a test of patience in places, and as I said earlier, I'm a pretty patient guy and have plenty of it. But yeah, that particular part, in fact it's probably the only part of the build so far that has become a real test of my patience. So moving on now to step 22. As you can see there in the manual, it literally is just bolting a couple of parts to the chassis, so I'm going to go ahead now and bolt them up and come back and show you the progress. So it's all going together alright. This particular bit, to hold this bracket on, they ask you to use what is in the manual XV118, which are like longer screws. Now they're the normal length screws that we've been using for this part, so I don't see why they couldn't have just used those screws with the same size head there, because you have all this excess length here with the screw head, which just looks a little bit untidy in my personal opinion, unless something's going to thread onto them later on in the build. But that I will find out. But yeah, at the minute, as far as getting to this point, I just don't see why they would use them there, unless, like I say, they're going to be used for something later on. So now we have the second chassis rail, and I ain't going to say it went together easy, because it didn't. It was very, very fiddly. In fact, it was extremely fiddly. But there's the left and the right hand side chassis rails now. So I presume all these bits will start to like look straight once the tanks start sitting in place, because I presume these are places for the tanks and everything else. So time will tell on that one. But no, I'm happy with it so far. It looks good. And then in the next one we'll take a look at the Servonaut. So that's pretty much it for that one. That were the steps 21 and 22. 23 next. So do feel free to give the video a like. Feel free to leave me a comment. Please do subscribe, show your support for the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay notified. And if you've missed any videos previously, do feel free to go to my playlist where you can find the VERKERK VOLVO Build there. Ciao for now, guys.
I got me sulfate. Treat.
I got you a treat.
They're all mine.
Well, if you're complaining, I could always, yeah, but don't eat them all at once.
But eat this one first.